Ooh, I see a
Ah,
lot of familiar faces. We already have Lola and Matt here. I'm just going to do a very quick introduction to the Nomadic Network, and then we'll let Lola take it away, and then Matt's going to do a Q&A with her. It's going to be really, really fun. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Erica, and I help Matt run this community of budget travel bloggers. I am going to share my screen for a second, but while I share my screen, can you guys just drop in the chat where you're calling in from, and then tell us if you are a photographer, if you are already selling photos, or if you are just wanting to learn either of those skills, so we know like what level you are coming in at. All right, and I am just going to share this presentation real quick. Perfect. Can you see that? Yeah. All right, wonderful. So welcome to the Nomadic Network. Also, let us know if this is one of your first events in the chat. So basically, the Nomadic Network was created by Nomadic Matt a few months before the end of last year, and we launched all these chapters all over the country and all over the world. We had 22 different chapters. We had almost 40 meetups before the coronavirus hit, and we had to switch to virtual events. So basically, what the Nomadic Network is in place for is for us to all connect with people that are like-minded. So travelers in our communities, and what that turned into when we switched to virtual events is connecting to travelers all over the world, and travel resources like Lola, who's calling in here from Sweden today, and Matt, who's in Texas, and I'm in New York, and I can't see the chat, but I'm sure none of you guys are in those places, and you're from all over the world. And so it's been a beautiful transition and has gotten us really, really connected, and I love it. Just some things to keep in mind today. Feel free to turn your camera on. This is a community event. We love to see your faces. You will be muted though. Lola has a presentation on photography today, and then there's going to be a Q&A. So if you have a question for the Q&A, feel free to drop it in the chat at any point. I ask that you write the word question before it so that I can weed through all the chat, because you are also definitely encouraged to connect with each other, ask questions, share relevant experiences, do whatever you want in that chat. This is a community event, so feel free to just connect and share while Lola is presenting. Also, this replay, as well as all the other replays, are going to be available on patreon.com/nomadicmatt. I'll speak more about that in a second. But also, we are here to learn, satiate your wanderlust, and have fun. I just want to remind you that Lola, along with all of our other speakers, are doing this out of the kindness of their heart and the passion for sharing their knowledge with you. We're really grateful, and we hope that you can connect with Lola and remember her whenever in the future you may need photography help, or you may have something that you need a travel photographer for. We're really trying to connect all the resources together, and that includes you, our community. So last but not least, I just wanted to invite you to come into our exclusive Patreon community. It's a really cool group of people that gets a lot of really awesome things. So we are giving away things like free books, free t-shirts, guides. We have all the TNN event replays on patreon.com. It's a really cool community. We have a Facebook group that's very interactive. We have lots of live Q&As with Matt. We have tickets to TravelCon, virtual tickets to TravelCon available. And for as little as $3 a month, you can join us in our Patreon community. If you do not want to be in our Patreon community, but you wanted to support us, we also have a one-time donation that you can donate through PayPal, and that's through matt@nomadicmatt.com. So I just wanted to offer that. If this is of any value to you, we would love your support, and thank you so much. I'm now going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to introduce Matt, who needs no introduction to this community, who is going to introduce Lola, and we're just gonna get this started. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi everybody, I'm Nomadic Matt. There's a guy with the last name Kipnis here, which is oddly like my last name. I think we might be distant relatives. I want to know your story. Because I did hear when we came. Is your family from Ukraine? Say thumbs up or down.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, we might be long distance
wow.
relatives. Because when I heard that our family came through Ellis Island, my dad says they changed our name into 4 different versions. He's shaking his head like, yes, I think I might have a cousin on this call. Anyways, look at that. The power of TNN bringing distant branches of a family together. Anyways, moving on. Send me an email, Jeffrey. Today we're going to hear from Lola, who is an amazing travel photographer who I've known for like 12 years, actually, since like 2008. She was one of the first other travel blogs I like stumbled across. You know, back when there were very few travel blogs, and we'd leave each other comments, be like, great blog, and, you know, chatting everyone. Those were the days when people actually did their social media on blogs, not Facebook discussions. And we've been friends ever since. This headshot I use often is from her when we were having lunch in Stockholm. Just turned out to be a good picture of me. So she's spoken at TravelCon. I had dinner at her house once living in Stockholm. She's all around an awesome person. And today she's going to teach us a lot about travel photography and how to sell your photos. And she has a great presentation. So I'm going to just shut up and let her do her thing and teach you everything. And then we will come back for questions and answers when that's over. And that's it. And Erica has a little outro about some upcoming events we have, and that will be the hour. So Lola?
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for dialing in. It's great to see everybody just dialing in from all over the world. I recognize some faces, some names. AJ Sud, I think I see you there. But let me quickly share my screen here. So can you see my screen, everyone? Okay, so good. So today I'm going to be talking about how to sell your travel photos. So let's see. Make sure I'm clicking. So quick, just intro about me. I am an award-winning travel photographer, and I'm a contributing photographer at National Geographic Traveler, the UK. I was the 2018 Bill Muster Travel Photographer of the Year, and I am represented by National Geographic Image Collection. So this presentation is divided into 2 parts, right? The first part, I'm going to talk about preparing your photos for sale and your portfolio. And then the second part, publication and partnerships. Because how you prepare your photos is actually equally as important as how you sell them. Because you don't know if your photos are actually even sellable, even though they are great photos. They may not be sellable, and we'll get to that. So part 1, preparation and portfolio. How do you make your work sellable? So as travel photographers, we love, capturing a sense of place when we travel, right? And within travel photography, we all have different niches. So there are landscape photographers, because you connect to that. There are street photographers. I am an environmental portrait photographer. We kind of niche down. But then the problem is over time, because we love a specific type of travel photography, we then have mostly photos from that niche. So think about it, you're a landscape photographer, then over time, you just have mostly landscape photos. But the problem becomes, how do you then sell a story about a place with just landscape photos? So I want you guys to start thinking about this. So for example, are you creating kind of random epic shots as you travel, or are you actually creating a sort of cohesive story through the photos of a place? Because the more cohesive stories you can create from a place, the easier it is to sell those kind of photos, especially in an editorial context. So for example, this is a screenshot of my Mauritius gallery collection, and I've got 12 galleries. My strength is just the people gallery, right? That's what I love. But you can see I've got adventure, beachscape, chefs, culture. I even have golf, and I don't golf, But what that is doing is I'm creating in addition to what I love, also creating additional sellable photos so I can sell what I love, but in context with other photos. So, well, I want you to start thinking beyond the single epic shot into more memorable photos of a place that tell a story. And this is really important because a lot of people think, I just want to sell the photo, but are your photos actually even sellable, even though they're beautiful? So I'll give you an example. For those that have been to the Faroe Islands, this is an epic scene. Everybody knows it. Everybody that's gone there has their own version of the Mulasafor waterfalls in the Faroe Islands. It's epic, but it's not unique, right? Everybody has it. But I have this photo from the Faroe Islands. It may not be as epic, but it's more memorable. So what you want to do is, yes, you can get your epic shot, but start thinking about shots that may not be as epic, but are memorable, because then when people start Googling the Faroe Islands, they see all those similar epic shots, and then this pops up. It already starts creating a space for you. Now, even just horizontal versus vertical, when we think about it, many landscape photographers, again, landscape, horizontal, but what about like dead space or white space around the item, right? Sometimes we shoot too tightly, especially when we're composing, so we don't give the editors that want to buy our work options. So even if it's a beautiful landscape shot, because we've composed it the way we just beautifully want, then we might not be able to sell it because there's not enough space for an editor to put text around or to do something with, right? And so think about it, the same shot. Do you have a vertical version of it? So these are the ways, as you start going out and shooting, to start creating photos that are sellable, is not just the horizontal, but a vertical version, as well as a lot of space. Because they're going to be, cover images, they're going to be opening spreads, they want to do something with the image. And this comes from experience, because I had some photos that an editor wanted to buy. Editor loved it and then wrote back to me and said, hey, do you have another composition of this image? Because I need space around it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't. And so I wasn't able to sell it because the image wasn't sellable. So think about it. Especially us photographers, we've been taught, the rule of thirds, right? Everything has to have a certain balance when you shoot. Yes, but when you shoot, for example, cover shots, you may have to say goodbye to those composition rules because you need to give space, right? So for example, if I was going to shoot this woman with the rule of thirds, I can create that image for myself, for my own collection, but then I have to create an additional image that's the quote unquote, the sellable version that has enough space around her, that gives whoever is going to buy it space to do whatever they want with your image. Are you all with me? Thumbs up if you're with me so far. All right, so this is just an example where you can see these images may not be perfectly composed, but you see they balance out once they are used and sold. And then another thing, as you start preparing your images, is what's your visual style? And when I say visual style is when I take about 10 of your photos and put them together, can I say, that's Jeffrey Kipnis's photos, or that's Christina Sim's photos, So for example, there is this site on Instagram called Instant Repeat. And what they do is they go around different Instagram accounts and find similar shots. And again, these are kind of these iconic epic views. Everybody has them. They're not unique. So you do not want to end up on this site as a photographer. That's all I want to say. So what's your visual voice? My visual voice this is what I call my own visual voice. And it's because I used to be an oil painter. So I love kind of vibrant colors and I love a lot of contrast. It may not be everybody's style. It may be too heavy-handed for others, but it's my visual voice. You can see that there's a photographer that clearly took this. It's the same person. So these are some examples of other photographers I love. Mitchell is a great one. You can see his style. He loves low light, moody low light. I can see that. And Another one is Lily Germa. Our photos are like joy and happiness. You can see the colors, you can see that's a style. Sivan Askayo, you can see clearly this photographer has a style. So the reason why this is important is having a clear voice in your imageries is so that the people that want to buy it can immediately see what you're selling and why they should buy it from you. That is the purpose as well, beyond expressing yourself, but it's also for them to see, okay, this is this person's visual style, I like it, and it covers different, the style is consistent depending on what they are shooting. If it's people or landscape or food, they can still see your style. So this is now the portfolio portion of that, kind of part one. So this is a screenshot of my portfolio. I host it on PhotoShelter, and I'll talk about PhotoShelter later. One thing I found over the years is just having a website as a photographer was not enough for me. I actually had to create what I call an image bank, right? So an online image bank where people can search. And I'll tell you why this was important, because just having the website, it's just assuming that people already know who you are as a photographer. So if you're like, any of those amazing, well-known photographers, then just having a website is fine. But what if you're actually starting up and trying to get there? How can people find you? So what I started doing was, instead of just having a website, I created what was called an image bank. And an image bank is kind of a searchable online archive of my photos that I group, maybe by country, by client, and under country, by city, by theme. Because what happens is that image bank is also indexed by Google. And so Google goes directly to my image bank when somebody's looking for something. And this is how I've sold a lot of photos, right? And I'll show you. Beyond Google going directly to that image bank, what happens is, because I can create those galleries online, I can actually just tailor them quickly for a publication or tailor them quickly for somebody asking for photos. So it's not, oh, take a look at my website. It's more, take a look at this collection that I think might be great for you. And you can do that in 5 minutes by just dragging and dropping and stuff. You don't have to send images via WeTransfer or attachments. It just makes life easier for you. Again, this is about preparing your portfolio for sale, so that it's just easier if an editor comes and says, I'm looking for photos from Fiji. Instead of saying, oh, wait, let me WeTransfer you some samples, I actually point them to my galleries, right, online. So here's an example. Every February in northern Sweden, there is an indigenous market that it happens in Jokkmokk, and it's been going on for over 400 years. And it's popular, but people may not know I've been there, right? As a photographer, not everybody knows who I am, Chances are, it's millions of people in the world. But if I went and Googled, and I just put this in, it goes to my PhotoShelter image bank. So this is how I've actually been able to sell a lot of work. And it's not like I'm just promoting PhotoShelter, but they've been fantastic for my career, because having an image bank, some people use SmugMug or something that's searchable and indexable is important. And this is how I've been able to sell. So you can see 2 of my images pop up as well when people just search. So that was the first part of the presentation, right? And please pop in your questions. I'm going to answer at the end. So really, how you prepare your photos for sale and how you present them, really important. So quick disclaimer, because these tips I'm going to give you involves contacting people. And so before you contact them, make sure you have your house in order with part 1, have a really good kind of image bank, things, well organized. Yeah, so I'm going to give you 5 tips for selling your photos. And I have a course where I've got over 20 tips, but I'm just going to pull a few of my favorites from that course. 5 tips for selling your photos. Number 1, I actually have what I call the 3-step introduction to finding the right photo editor. So let's say you've got everything ready, you've got your portfolio, and you're trying to find the right editor at a publication. How do you go about it? Most photographers think, I'm actually quite surprised by how many photographers that don't use LinkedIn. Because people think since it's not a visual platform, it's not the best place to showcase their work. But LinkedIn is actually one of the best places to find the people you need to reach. Because when you think about Instagram, nobody likes you sliding into their DMs. Like it feels, they don't like it, you know? And think about it, if you wanted to get the attention of, say, the photo editor that runs the Instagram account for National Geographic, they have millions of followers. If you slide into their DMs, nothing, it's just, they're not gonna find you. But it's easier to find people on LinkedIn. First of all, LinkedIn already creates a really kind of business environment. It's already a professional feel so that when you connect, it's already setting the standard of how you're gonna communicate. And then Twitter is also great, you know, because people are very kind of chatty, you know, on Twitter, and you can see what editors are posting and you can engage. And this is also something that frustrates a lot of photographers because sometimes the photo editor is actually not called photo editor for the publication. So you may be looking for the right person and you may not find them, but they're usually called maybe art director, that's a photo editor, layout editor, director of photography, head of art direction, lead designer. Those are names where the photo editor could be hidden under for whatever publication you're trying to publish, get your work in. Second, once you find them, I say don't email. Do not do cold emails, but rather, and also don't stalk them. You know, that's not what you should do. But you should kind of engage organically. So if you see that the editor is sharing stuff that you actually connect with, you can respond organically, like organically, leave a comment, you know, do that. Because when you email them a few days later, there is some subconscious recognition. This is why it's important when you want to kind of organically engage, you know, is that once they see your name in their inbox, then they're like, wait a minute, this name looks familiar. Then they might at least click it to open and see something versus if it's just a name out of the blue they don't recognize. So that's what I call my 3-step introduction. Is the number 2 part is really important. It's the engagement. It has to be organic. It has to be natural. It shouldn't feel forced. And then just email them a few days later. So for example, I did a basic search in LinkedIn for photo editor National Geographic and came back with 4,000 plus results. And this is because it spans different countries, different branches of the magazine, the platform, the brand, the TV, everything. And again, another disclaimer, leave these people alone. I'm just using it for, for demo purposes. Do not email them. Do not say Lola sent you to them. But you can find a lot of people this way, right? A lot of photo editors for any publication you want. And it's already a very professional setting, you know? So again, be respectful, be professional, don't be a pest. But LinkedIn and Twitter are my ways of trying to get on the radar of someone. Number 2, photo essays. So there are many publications, both travel and non-travel publications that publish a lot of photo essays. And this is why having a cohesive set of photos is important. It doesn't mean you're not a landscape photographer. It doesn't mean that's not your strength, but it means if I have 200 landscape photos, hopefully I have in my archives 10 food photos, 10 details, 10 people shots, in addition to my 200. Because then the publication can open up with your strength, which is maybe the landscape, and then show a little bit from the destination. Because that's what photo essays do. They want to share more of a sense of place, a rounded sense of place of the story you're trying to tell. So this is what has frustrated a lot of photographers that are really niche. You know, that doesn't mean you can't sell those epic shots, and I'll get to where you can sell them. But it's just that having a portfolio of different kinds also opens up the opportunities to sell those photos. So these are just a few that publish photo essays, but also non-traditional publications publish photo essays. So this is, for example, Vice I had a photo essay published with them about West Sweden that's known for its great seafood, the best seafood in all of the Nordics, West Sweden. So, but this was Vice, you know. And so there are different publications where you can, that are not traditional travel photography kind of, or travel mags, where you can get photo essays published. This is also another example. My strength as a travel photographer is people shots. This is a spread I did for National Geographic Traveler, and it's like one person shot in there, right? So my strength is just one shot, and everything else is landscape and food. So it's easier for me to sell when I have a cohesion of different photos than just my strength. This is an example that shows, right? And then this is a great insider tip. Once you've found the editor, you know, and you send them an email, one of the things I do is I keep that introduction email very short. You know, this is a link to my image bank, la, la, la. And then right before I end, I say, if you have a call out list, can you please add me to your list? Because most photo editors actually have a call out list. They have a list or a mailing list that they keep of different photographers that they work with, that they like, that they're interested in. And then maybe once or maybe even a few times a month, they blast to that email list and say, hey, I'm looking for photos from Tanzania, hotels in Texas, this. Do you have them? Can you please send them in? Because most publications don't have budgets to send photographers on assignments. So most of them rely on archives. They rely on your existing archives, they rely on stock. And so instead of them going straight to stock, they usually say, okay, can we first try our list of photographers to see what kind of cohesive stories they have before they then go to stock for the individual epic shots. So you see why again, those cohesive stories really important. But this one, many publications, they have this. Once you find the editor, ask them, do you have a call out list, and please add me to it in your short intro email. And then you get those blasts. So if you have a lot of epic shots, one of the best way to get mileage from them is not just in stock images, because the problem with stock agencies is it's a numbers game. You have to have thousands of images in there to be able to get a lot of money out of it. But think about tourism boards. There are over 180 countries in the world. Many of them have some kind of destination marketing organization or a tourism board that handles them. Within those countries, there are regions. Some of those regions have their own destination boards. Within those regions, there are cities. Each city has probably its own marketing. And many of them, they maintain what they call an image bank. And what that is if I'm a journalist writing about the city of Stockholm and I need photos of Stockholm, I contact Visit Stockholm, and they say, go to our image bank. We have photos that you can use for free. These images, the destination buys from photographers, and they usually pay a lot of money for those photos, for each photo, because they want to be able to share those photos for free with the copyright. You hold on to the copyright. You can still sell the same photo to whoever you want, but what they want is to be able to buy a license from you so that they can offer that photo to a journalist writing about Stockholm for free. So that means, like I said, you still maintain the copyright, you can still sell your photo, but what that means is whenever that photo is used, you're going to get this photo credit listing. So it's going to say Lola Akinmade / Visit Sweden or Sweden Image Bank. So these are just a few I have in Sweden's official image bank. I've sold some, I've got some in Greenland's image bank. This destination, Quacken Destinations, is 7 regions in the Nordics marketing themselves together. We created their image bank from scratch for them. That's money. Costa Brava got some images there as well. And the best part is you get the publication credits. So if, for example, a journalist is writing for the Wall Street Journal and they go to Sweden's image bank and grab my photo, then they're going to say, I'm going to get the Wall Street Journal cred as a photographer because my photo was published in it. So Google Alerts, turn on Google Alerts, because that's how I found out that my photos have been in a lot of publications around the world, from Vogue to Business Insider to lots of different things. Because yes, the image bank, the destination paid me once for it, but it means I still own the copyright. I can still sell it and sell it. So what it's doing is I sell the photo once to them and they're giving me the publication credits. That's helping me as a photographer as well in terms of building that portfolio. So this is one advantage of like tourism banks versus stock agencies. And then collaborate beyond the single image. So for example, if you've sold those photos to the tourist, board, then you say, you know what, how can we collaborate further? I'm a photographer in your backyard. For example, if I live in, Houston, Texas, I could say, hey, visit Houston. I'm a photographer here. How can we collaborate to start showing what Houston is looking like, within this COVID era? How are things changing? How is it for the traveler? There are ways you could collaborate beyond that. And that is kind of how my relationship with Sweden kind of started. Was I was traveling around Sweden, and each time I traveled and was sharing photos on Twitter, I kept tagging them. After a while, they got frustrated, like, who the heck is this Nigerian like woman traveling around our country just tagging us? But they loved the photos, and then I became the official photo blogger for Sweden for 2 years, and they paid really well. And my job was to take for like 3 blog posts a month, with photos of Sweden. So there are opportunities to collaborate. You have to be audacious. You have to, once you get the rope, then drag it and say, okay, how can I collaborate beyond just selling you the photos? And you can do this for your local restaurants or companies, local tourism, because yes, people are struggling right now, but travel is still going to rebound, and there are ways you can start developing those relationships now so that when it does rebound, then it's beneficial for you as well. And then another thing is, when I say reaching beyond that single image, is Instagram takeovers, right? So many of the Instagram takeovers don't pay, and I'm usually against kind of working for free, especially like selling your work for free. But if a really big brand says they want to just spotlight you, meaning like we want to spotlight your work as the photographer on our feed, that's free marketing, especially if it's like a National Geographic or a Greenland, because it's not so much just them featuring you, it's who follows them. Because if, for example, you get spotlighted on Lonely Planets, like this is me, I did a takeover on Lonely Planet. So these are, for example, I did a takeover on Finland for Traveler, Greenland, obviously for Greenland. I did Jordan for Lonely Planet, Northern Lights, for adventure.com, because the people that follow the account say that if this well-respected brand is featuring this photographer, then that means this is a photographer worth looking at, because the brand is also putting their name, associating their name with your stuff. So how do you find the people that manage these accounts? Go to LinkedIn. Go say, LinkedIn, Lonely Planet social media manager, National Geographic social media manager. That's how you find them. Because if you slide into their DMs, they're not going to respond. It just, no, right? So just to kind of wrap up, the benefits, what I have found with my image bank is, and let me know if you guys, like once I'm done with this, if you want to see me kind of go through my image bank, I can show you what it looks like and how it works. But I've been able to quickly send links to galleries. So when I introduce myself to an editor, there is no attachment in that email. Otherwise, it's going to spam. It's a one-stop shop for potential partners. So if, for example, somebody puts out a call, I'm looking for photos of Northern Lights, then I can go and quickly create a sub gallery for them and customize it for them. And then they feel like they're special, that I'm actually being professional and listening to their specific needs. So that is what has really worked for me. And then, yeah, so this last slide, I can leave it up, but I'm giving you guys a discount, 25% off for my course. And, Erica can send more information later. But let's see, yeah, so that was kind of it. I just wanted to share some of those tips as well as how you prepare the portfolio and then getting in front of the right people and then how you can get kind of your work sold in those ways. So back to you, Matt.
Hey. Round of applause for Lola.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was an awesome presentation. Very, very informative. And thank you for the discount for everybody. You can check out the links here, and Erica will send a follow-up email to everyone who registered for this. So you can have it easily in an email. We have a lot of awesome questions.
Yes.
So let's start answering them.
Yes.
Starting with Tracy. By making your photos so widely available, how do you protect your images from theft or misuse?
That's a question we get all the time. I think if people want to steal your photos, they will. The image bank doesn't allow people to download your photos. So you can't, unless they do a screenshot, and then click, crop it and try and get what they want. But so the photos are protected in my image bank and in other image banks. But I think if people want to steal your work, they're going to steal it anyway. They really are. And so I think instead of focusing on trying to find all the people trying to steal your work, how about trying to get your work in front of more people? That is how I see it, more that they're going to steal it anyway if they want. When it's readily available, it's not the IRS, it's not the large file, it's just more the smaller. For example, on Instagram, it's the smaller ones, and those are not print quality, But yeah, and of course you can always, once every quarter, you can go register copyrights, like a batch of your work. If you live in the US, you can send it to, I think, is it the Library of Congress, and try and copyright all that. But I think instead of doing all that, I would redirect that that energy into actually trying to get your work in front of the right people and building the client base and building the relationships and getting your name out there as a photographer. So
it's like blogging too, you're always playing whack-a-mole with people.
Exactly. Yes, yeah.
In your content, right?
Yeah. They keep doing it. Yeah, it will do, and it will take all your time. So, yeah.
Rich asks, what's the most credible way and most efficient way to go about getting your numerous images copyrighted? I think you already just mentioned this with Library of Congress.
Yes, yeah, and I think every country has its own copywriting, laws and stuff. But yeah, so if that's super important, then definitely have like a workflow, like maybe it's every few months that you do to send a batch of your images in and get them copyrighted.
Is there a cost to that, or does that depend on?
I have no, I'm sure there might be a cost. I don't know. I mean, I don't live in the US anymore, and I've been removed from that process for a while. So I don't know, but I know just Googling like copywriting images, Library of Congress, that will bring in just a lot of resources too. Yeah. Is
it different in Europe?
I don't do it in Sweden. I actually don't copyright my images, like a process to go and, but you know what? I actually had somebody recently email me and was trying to, he emailed me out of the blue and was like, oh, this photo of yours is mine. I'm like, really? It's like, yeah, this is mine. Then I said, well, but I have the raw file, so how is it yours? And then he went away. So there will be people that will try to come in and try to claim your work. But as long as you have the raw files, you have the originals, you can prove. So that's why I'm not so scared about that, because there's always, if I find, for example, somebody clearly steals my work and does something big with it, I have my raw files, then I can always go after them. But yeah.
We have a question here from Christina and Emily that kind of deal around the ethics of photographing people.
Yes.
So when you're photographing people, do you get a release And how do you, or do you compensate the subjects?
Correct. So that's lots of, so I'll unpack each of those. So when you are shooting in an editorial context, meaning this is going to be published by maybe a magazine or publication, you don't need a model release so long as the person is published in that original context it was taken. So for example, if I took a photo of, say, Niels, so Niels Nuti is one of my contacts in northern Sweden, is indigenous Sami. If I took a picture of Niels in the context of the market, like of the indigenous market, then that's how I publish it. I don't need a model release from him. Now, if I'm trying to publish Niels in a different context, or if I'm trying to sell him for like a commercial context, like for example, somebody's selling scarves, which that's not something I'll never do anyway. I don't do that. But then I would never do that, or I would ask him to sign a model release. If you're in the field, an app called Easy Release is a good one to have because people are nervous about actually signing paperwork. Like if you are anywhere in the world and then you just bring a paper and a pen, people freak out like, what is this? What am I signing? I don't understand this. If you use an app, it's easier. And then there's some photos I just don't sell in any kind of commercial context. When I work for a commercial client, that's different. And I have different kind of terms in terms of when I travel, my subjects, they already know about that context. But when I'm traveling around, it's mostly in an editorial context. I will never just take somebody's photo, and then sell it in a commercial context. I usually try and keep the two very separate. And then there was one more part of the question. What was it?
Are subjects compensated?
No, I don't. When I'm shooting editorial and I'm traveling, I don't pay people because the minute I have to pay somebody, that means I didn't spend enough time getting to know them. And for me as a photographer, and this is something Matt knows me for a while, we talk a lot about photographing people. My deal is acknowledgement and really getting to have people invite you in. Call people by their name, show them the respect, let them know that you value their time and what they're doing and what they're showing you. Because the closer you get to them, the less they're going to ask you for money. They usually just ask somebody that they don't care about, like, okay, give me money as a tourist, I don't care about you. So I don't pay people to pose for me. In fact, there's a shot I always talk about when I was in Marrakesh. There in the market, they have the snake handlers. They always try to put it on tourists and stuff like that. And and they always try to get money. And so there was a guy there and I said, look, I don't want to take a picture of the snake. I'm not giving you money, but what's your name? And he was like thrown off balance. Like, why do you want to know my name? And I want to know about you, what you do. And so I spent some time talking to the guy and I took lovely shots of him. And even in the shots, you could see he was nervous and he was like, what's going on? Because people don't focus on him. They focus on what he's doing. So in that, context, I was able to get a photo without having to pay anything from people that ask for money to get paid for that. So you don't, and it's not about also exploiting people because that, for me, it's not about that. It's more about what context are you taking the shot in? How is the person being shown in your photos? Are you elevating them? I mean, this is like a whole other talk, Matt, we need to schedule, but how are you elevating them? Like how are you elevating the people in the photo? Are you showing them with dignity, respect in the photo? I mean, for me, I'm an environmental portrait photographer, so it's a really kind of passionate topic for me because the way I shoot people, you can already tell that there is a connection there. It's not, even if it's a stranger, it's not, so it's not that kind of relationship where it's transactional that way. It's more of, I want the viewer to see them as who they are. So, but yeah, let's grab some more questions.
Raj asked, do photos lose their commercial value once they are published on social media?
It depends on, so are you, because I know a lot of people want to be the first to publish the photo, right? And all that, but I don't think so. I mean, I think, the landscape is changing. If it's like a big brand that wants you to shoot exclusively for them, then they need to send you on that assignment so you can create shots just for them, you know. But I really don't think they lose their value. I just think sometimes it might be difficult because the brand wants to be the first, but if they're not bringing any money to send you there and pay you adequately, then whatever, you find somebody else that will take the shot. So it's, I don't know if they so much as lose the value, but more what the brand that wants it, what they are willing to pay you for those first rights or the first licensing. They can't just come with nothing and say, we don't want it published anywhere else, just us. So.
We have a couple of questions about travel gear.
Yes.
So switching it up a little bit. What type of equipment do you recommend for a beginner photographer? And is an iPhone good enough?
I mean, the phones are getting better, but no, not for a professional photographer. I think what you can do is maybe photographers are actually getting into smaller gear, so like mirrorless cameras that are just a lot easier to handle. But as a pro photographer, I would say not just the iPhones. I mean, that's, yes, it lowers the barrier for entry. They take amazing shots, but I think you need to be able to do a lot more with the images, with the raw files. You need to have more control over your equipment, over what you are producing in those photos. So, but yes, mirrorless are great. I'm actually, hopefully, with my next gear upgrade, will actually be I'm gonna try and get a mirrorless instead. In terms of gear, what I carry, I have a Nikon, a full frame. I have a Sony mirrorless as my backup, one of my backups. So I don't use it as much, and then I use a lot of Nikon lenses. But when I travel, I have 3 lenses I take. One is the 24-70, because it's like an all-around general purpose lens that still gets you in the action, a really good lens. There is the 14-24, which is the wide angle, great for landscapes, great for interiors, where I can just kind of get that feeling, great for markets, like when you're in there. And then I take a 50mm fixed lens, which I can use for food or for portraits. So those are the 3 I usually carry. I have a lot of others I use, but these are the 3 lenses I usually carry when I travel. And for my next camera upgrade, I'm probably going to try and get the Nikon like Z something. I don't know what is the Z7, whatever it is, but the mirrorless Nikon. I'm really looking into playing with that. So
we have a couple of questions about those image banks you talked about.
Yes.
Do you recommend, which platforms are the best? Is it just the one you use, or can you recommend?
I think there are many others out there. I know there's SmugMug, Folio, there are lots of different ones, but I have been with PhotoShelter for a while. I think they're one of the bigger ones there, and they're such a really generous platform as well, in that they create a lot of resources for photographers. So even if you're not a PhotoShelter subscriber, they actually have lots of PDFs where they say these are the like 50 photo contests you need to enter as a photographer, all free. These are 30 organizations that want to pay for your photo project. These are 30 funds or grants you can apply for. This is your guide to SEO. So even if you don't sign up for PhotoShelter, at least as a photographer, they have lots of free resources that they give away for free, and they update regularly. So, but there are lots of different ones out there, but they are the ones I've just been with the longest. I know them well, and there are lots of really kind of well-known photographers that use them as well. So.
And just a quick aside, can you repeat the first lens you use? We'll just type it in.
24-70 millimeter.
Great. Jody asked, when you're creating the collections in your image banks, you showed us examples of themes within one country, right? But do you ever make collections using multiple countries based on a certain theme?
Yes.
So like if it was food, it could be food from multiple countries, or, mountains from multiple countries.
Correct. It's up to you. You can do it any way you want. And the good thing is that you can also quickly customize. So let me see, I don't know if I have enough time. I was just gonna pop in to, oops. Let me pop into my image bank so you can see. I'm going to share my screen again. Let's see if I can share this. Oh, I don't know what's going on. Let me see. Can I share the screen? Yeah, because I want to show you what it looks like. Let's see. There we go. Share. Can you see my screen? Can you guys see the screen? Yeah. Okay. So this is my image bank. So the first page is just kind of like a quick, but you can organize it however you want. So this is like, for example, a portfolio. I've got, chefs and kitchens, food and dining, Northern Lights. You can organize it whichever way you want. But when I go to all galleries, this is where I've started kind of organizing them by country. And this is just about 40% of my work that I'm uploading. So I still have like over 60% I still need to load online. It's a lot of work. But how I do it is, for example, if I go into, say, Finland, you can see where I've just started grouping them. You see food and dining, people, so that there's some kind of consistency, the way I name them, as I kind of move from gallery to gallery. And this is why this also works. When I go to, for example, clients, this could be real clients or like clients I work with, or even clients that are interested in my work. So for example, an editor might say, oh, I'm looking for this kind of photos. Do you have anything? Then what I do is I quickly say, okay, let me see. Let me try and see. Okay, for example, Condé Nast Traveler, they're looking for this kind of photos. So you can see I quickly pulled from my others to customize it for them so they can quickly see. So that's the great thing about the content bank is it's very easy, like 5 minutes, you just say, add this image to this collection, add this, and then you start creating so that when you delete the image, it also deletes it, if you want, across everything or still leaves it in one collection. So those are ways you can start customizing, for different clients or different people. But yes, you can organize it any way you want. I think this guy's familiar. Let's see.
A couple more questions before we wrap up.
Yes.
Rich asks, have you ever encountered buildings or landmarks that you are not allowed to sell photography of? And what do you do?
No, so I think it's usually more from the interior, more so than the building itself. I think some places are like, they don't want you to either take photography in there or it's a special collection in a museum they don't want. But most of the time, what they mean is they don't just want a random tourist to do it. Many of them actually have a form for photographers, professional photographers to fill out and then apply for like a permit to do it, to take it. So I haven't really come across one that said don't do it. They usually say, if you're a tourist, you can't take it. But if you have an assignment letter or you are shooting for somebody, just fill out this, this photographer permit. Sometimes you have to pay, sometimes you don't. Most of the times you don't, but it's just so that they know, register you as a professional photographer, and this is the context within which you're selling those photos. And this is another tip I wanted to really give you as well. A lot of kind of street and landscape photographers, sometimes you can't sell the same cityscape because the cityscape has changed, right? Like in 3 years, they put another building and then you can't sell it. So what I always say is see if you can take photos of protected areas. So like a lot of cities have old towns, like in Stockholm, Gamla Stan, Martino.
Yeah.
Those don't change. There is zoning rules. They can't just pop up a new building. So try to stick in UNESCO sites or in UNESCO parts of town where you can take a lot of those landscape and buildings because those don't change because they are zoning rules. The only thing you might see is maybe a crane repairing one of the buildings, but the new building isn't going to go up. So that's just something to think about as you start creating more evergreen collections that you can keep selling and selling. Yes.
Okay, final question I think is a good one about social media.
Yeah.
When you publish photos on social media, especially Instagram, they can be republished and shared without your consent.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? And do you think it hurts or helps you getting new commissions as well as your sort of income?
Well, so I'm not a big fan of Instagram. If you look at my Instagram feed, it's just like, it's not the best place to show my work. Like I always say, I don't use my Instagram as my portfolio, you know, it's just me on my random musings or behind the scenes. So it's for that reason as well, is that Instagram does that. And that's why when I first started, you could see some of my work, you know, but now over time, I've just morphed into just showing more like every day, or if I'm on assignment or things like that, or maybe a photo I like or stuff like that. But just because I know all of these companies have got, they're always trying to do like rights grabs or wiggle, you know, find loopholes to be able to sell your work. And I know there was a photographer that just was in some legal battle with that as well recently, you know, with Instagram, and a brand that got their photo from Instagram and used it, you know, stuff like that. So it's something to watch out for, but I think don't spend most of your energy on that. You know, like I said, don't spend most of your energy on people trying to steal your work. Don't spend most of it on trying to make sure Instagram doesn't steal your work, but focus more on developing your visual voice as a photographer, and then building those connections and trying to get your work out there as well to people that want to buy them or want to work with you or partner with you. So.
Awesome. Well, we're going to end there, and I'm going to turn it back to Erica for a hot second. But everyone, clap for Lola. Thanks so much for sharing everything.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Full hour with us here. Erica is going to just give you some future updates about TNN, and yeah, that's it. So, Erica.
Hi, everyone. Lola, that was incredible. I am so excited. I feel like now I want to be a photographer just listening to that, because that was insane. And everyone's questions, I'm very impressed with all of your questions, because I feel like we didn't make it through everything. But if you have questions, Lola, where is the best place for them to reach you? Because if we have some questions that weren't answered. Uh-oh, you're muted.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to pop my email address into the chat as well.
Okay.
So it's right there, and I'm also on social media as well.
Yeah.
So
if you have questions, or if you just want to say thank you to Lola, feel free to email her or get at her on social media. That would be perfect. Okay, just a little update about TNN at thenomadicnetwork.com/events. You'll see all of our events. Currently, we have 24 upcoming events on the website. Some more photography events. We even have Christina, who's here. Can you wave, Christina? Christina is going to be doing one on photography in about a month or so. And so we're very excited to have her on. But I just wanted to highlight some of the events that are coming up very quickly. Next Tuesday, we're doing one on Singapore. Next Wednesday, we're doing one on Italy. Next Thursday, we're doing one on India. And then the next week, we're doing one with Alex in Wonderland. And she's going to be teaching us all about the quirkiest diving destinations. And I tell you, you definitely don't want to miss that, even if you're scared of diving like I am. And then we have a really cool event, which is our first actual partner event. This is one of our newest partners for Flight. They have just donated $35,000 to our nonprofit to send an entire school abroad. Yeah, definitely clap for them. So they're going to be bringing on a journaling influencer to help us learn how to start and maintain a journaling practice while traveling, and it's going to be amazing. So I'm very excited, and I really hope you guys can come to some of these events, because we have so much fun putting them together, but it's also super fun when we have full groups of people in here watching us live. And then I just wanted to reiterate, a lot of people asked, because Lola, you packed this presentation with information. This whole presentation will be up by tomorrow, maybe today, on patreon.com/nomadicmat. So at the level of $5 a month, you can get access to all of our TNN replays. And so that includes today's, it includes all the ones we've done in the past. And so that is a really cool thing. And that's, you know, you can also be a part of our community, and at higher levels, you can get cooler things like tickets to TravelCon and lots of talks with Nomadic Matt and the team, and private sessions and free signed books and guides and Q&As and so many things. It's a really fun thing. We started Patreon at the beginning of this pandemic, and it's been one of our favorite things in the last 6 months to happen to us. So please join our community. If you don't feel like joining Patreon and you have a great memory and you don't need to watch this again, feel free to just give us a one-time donation if you found that this was valuable. We love putting these events on for you, but they do take time and effort. And, you know, we really want to thank Lola for being here today and for donating your time and effort and for sharing with us and for teaching us. If you learn something that you're then going to implement, feel free to shoot us a DM on Instagram, or, you know, if you shoot it to me, I'll share it with Lola. If you share it with Lola, she may shoot it to me. So we love to hear when we're making a difference with people. So feel free to do that. This is a community, and I just wanted to thank you for being a part of it. I also, you know, Lola, amazing that you're here. Matt, amazing that you're here. And then all the other 100 people that are here live, amazing that you're here. Thank you. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you're taking something away from this. I also want to give a shout out to my husband, who is here live with us today. Very excited, travel photographer also. So very excited to have you here. And I just wanted to say thank you. Lola, did you want to say any last closing words?
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, thank you guys again for your time, for being here. And, you know, I popped my email there. So please email me if you've got questions. I'm here for you. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lola. Bye, everyone. Have a great day or night, wherever you are.
Bye. Thanks for coming.